Vanakkam, good evening, and welcome to Tamil Heritage Trust Monthly Heritage Talk for the month of May 2022. As most of you know, Tamil Heritage Trust was set up way back in 2010 with the objectives of understanding, appreciating, disseminating, and celebrating India's heritage, rich source of heritage. Towards this, we have a number of programs, and very briefly, our flagship program is the monthly heritage talk, like this one, which is conducted every month at 5:30 p.m. on the first Saturday. We also conduct seminars, 2-day, 3-day seminars on specific topics. All our talks are available on YouTube for viewing. It's free. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the bell icon to receive future notifications as well. We also conduct workshops like how to see a temple, Bhagavad-Gita, and so on. We conduct site seminars at various places in the country of heritage importance. We have established the THT, Professor Swaminathan Heritage Award for individuals who make a lasting contribution to India's heritage. And more recently, we have started Alamaravai, which is exclusively to support teachers who are school and college teachers who are spreading the word of Indian heritage among their students and in their community. The one event that I did not talk about earlier is the Indology Festival, and there is a reason for that. In 2020, we held the first Tamil Heritage Trust Indology Festival involving speakers and experts from across India and the world. And in 2021, we could not conduct the program because of the constraints of the pandemic. But we are back now with THT's Indology Festival 2022. This will be held from June 2nd to 6th. That's coming month. Therefore, the monthly heritage talk in the first week of June will not be held. Instead, we will have the Indology Festival. And it's going to be a rich festival of content. Our theme for this festival is Temple Builders of Medieval India, 8th to 13th century. And we will be taking you across the country to talk about the various dynasties that emerged in the post-Gupta period outside the Gangetic Plain. So wherever you live in India, if you'd like to know what was happening about these dynasties, how did they emerge, what was their contribution to art and architecture, you will hear from a range of experts on this. So from the Gurjara Pratiharas, the Solankis, the Paramaras, the Shilaharas, the Hoysalas in Karnataka, the later Cheras of Kerala, Cholas and Pandyas in Tamilnadu and southern India, Eastern Gangas, Kakatiyas, the Chandelas, Pala Senas, and the Ahoms of Assam. Yes, that's a lot of dynasties that emerged and ruled during that period of 8th to 13th century. It was also saw the flowering of temple building at a monumental scale in the entire India. So please do join us. We have invited a stellar list of speakers and experts and scholars. I'll share with you a few of the names: Dr. Chitra Madhavan, Dr. Shankar Narayanan, Professor Swaminathan, Dr. Shivnagi Reddy, Dr. Ajit Kumar, Dr. Manoj Gundana, Dr. Sanjay Acharya, Dr. Shrikant Ganbir, Dr. Kumud Kanitkar, Dr. Manjari Bhalerao, Dr. Sudeepa Bandhopadhyay, Dr. Paramita Das have all been invited, and this is an indicative list. We are having a few more speakers in the pipeline who are yet to confirm. So please do join us. It's a total of 14 talks on weekdays, Thursday, Friday, and Monday. It'll start at 6 p.m. in the evening, and every day we have 2 talks. And on the weekends of Saturday and Sunday, we will have 2 sets of talks, 2 talks each, starting in the morning at 10 a.m. and again in the evening at 5:30 p.m. So please block your calendars for this rich fair, and do join us for the Indology Festival 2022 on the theme of Temple Builders of Medieval India very soon. I'm now delighted to welcome and introduce to you our speaker for today's monthly heritage talk, Dr. Kalarani Ram Chandran. She is an accomplished classical Indian dance exponent. She's had over 45 years of expertise in choreography, in nattuvangam, in performance, and instruction. She followed up her BA in music and MA in dance with a PhD in dance history. She's also holds certificate in Mohiniattam. She is trained under many distinguished exponents, including Sri P.V. Chalapati Rao, Srimati Mrinalini Sarabhai, Tanjai, Arunachalam, Professor Anjali Meher, Sri Ramlu Acharya, and so on. She's also a trained vocalist with training under Dr. Sri D.K. Jayaraman and Sri Sengotai Narayana. Dr. Ramchandran has choreographed and led 9 dance dramas. She's the founder and director of Nrithyanjali Dance Academy and Nrithyanjali Academy for Performing Arts in Madurai. She's the founder and event lead of Nityotsav Dance Festival. She's an honorary correspondent to Shruti. She's been conferred numerous awards over the years for her services to dance. Her involvement in academics is still active. She is member of the Board of Studies of Madurai and Madras universities. She's a visiting faculty of dance, the University of Madurai. She is head of the Department of Dance at Kalaikudam. She's an examiner for BA and MA Dance at MS University, Baroda, and other institutes. And she's as she contributes to the performing arts in academics. Naturally, you would expect an output of books, and she has written 5 books that are popular. Some of them are available as ebooks. And she's also written on the dance dramas of Tanjavur in both English and Tamil. So I'm delighted to welcome Dr. Kalarani Ram Chandran. Thank you very much, ma'am, for accepting our invitation. Over to you now.
Thank you very much. Gurubhyo Namaha. Respected audience, dance lovers, ladies and gentlemen, greetings and namaste to you all. I'm very happy and honored to be talking in this forum. I would like to thank Mr. Badri and Mr. Shyam and the members of the Tamil Heritage Group for inviting me to talk on dance. Thank you, Mr. Shyam, for a good introduction. The Tamil Heritage members are doing a very commendable work in Alamar Avai, a program reaching out to teachers and educate them about our Tamil and heritage. Just now, Mr. Shyam was explaining it, and I congratulate all of them for this selfless work towards our society, and I'm looking forward to the festival in June to hear all the connoisseurs to talk on this different topics of our Indian heritage. In present day, dance of Tamilnadu means it's none other than Bharatanatyam. A Bharatanatyam recital today is a joy to behold for all. We will see how this art has evolved and developed over many years from Kutu to Tilana. Why Tilana? Because this form has been very popular over the years from the time it was introduced till date in Bharatanatyam format. Like a flowing river with all its glory, dance has passed through many dynasties over the centuries. In this process, it has enriched many lives and has flowered out in many dimensions. There are references to dance in Vedas. As civilization of man progressed, fine arts also developed in parallel. Each geographical division has its own peculiar stamp and distinct features in music, dance, and artistic presentation. Dance branched out to 2 forms. One was codified with grammar and was known as classical, and other was simplified and to the masses and was called the folk dance. The encouragement of the Rasikas are very important at different stages in history has paved way for a considerable development. The encouragement was predominant for many years in the Tanjore belt, and we will see how it happened, and hence the art of dance flourished and developed in this region particularly. Indigenous sources in Tamil do provide ample information about the music, dance, and drama in the Tamil country. The earliest known era in the history of Tamilnadu, which throws ample light on the cultural scene, is the Sangam period. Tamil tradition holds that there had been a Sangam of literary organization at Madurai, consisting of poets, and it was patronized by Madurai Pandyan rulers, early Pandyas. Tamil works like Kootanul, Indrakaliyam, Isai Nunukam, Sayandam, Agathiyam, Siriyam, and many more have been assigned to this period. During this period, dance was called Kuthu and Adal. The earliest inscription relevant to dance seems to be found in the Arachalur inscriptions. It is assigned to the period around AD 200 to 250 on a paleographical grounds. It has a series of rhythmical syllables analogous to Sollukattu. Sollukattus are the syllables which is used in dance. The word tha is the fulcrum of that Sollukattu. These Sollukattus are used for the adavus or the pada padam. They say the footwork. The text fits into a talam which we use now. The rhythm is kanta chapu. Kanta chapu is of 5 counts. So it goes as 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Tak, tak, gitta, takka, dimmi, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Tak, gitta, takka, dim. No, sorry. Takka, tak, gitta, takka, tak, gitta, 5 counts. Takka, tak, gitta, takka, tak. So the Sollukattu goes ka, ta, ti, ta, ti, ta, ti, ta, tai, ti, takka, ti, tuttu. Tu, ka, kitta, tai, dittai. So in this way, the complete Sollukattus goes. But this Sollukattus, which was very early ones, are still used in some of the Kautuvams, especially the Natesha Kautuvam. The antiquity of the art in India is attested by many works in Sanskrit language. The texts deal in detail with the technique of the art. Bharata's Nati Shastra is the earliest known literature in Sanskrit on the subject of Natya. Natya consists of dance, music, and drama. There are many more post-Bharata treatises. For example, Brihadeshi, Abhinaya Shastra of Kohala, Nrityaratnavali of Jaya Senapati, Nandikeshwara's Abhinaya Darpanam, Bharatarnavam, and so on. The great Tamil classics of the post-Sangam era makes a favorite theme for dance and music. Silappadigaram, the well-known Tamil epic of the post-Sangam age, gives a comprehensive picture of the Muttamil, that is Iyal, Isai, and Nadagam. Just like how Bharata says, it is Iyal, Isai, and Natakam. And he gives a picture in this Arangetra Kadai, and the Tamil treatises gives a lot of information about dance, music, instruments, stage art, and so on.
Madam, sorry, are you changing the slides because we are not seeing?
Yeah, after this I'll be changing.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, please go ahead.
Yeah. But in Silappadigaram, we see a lot of northern Sanskritic tradition get mixed with the local tradition, showcasing a pan-Indian culture. For example, we will see, Madhavi was presented the staff of Indra on her Arangetram day. This is a pan-Indian tradition. The dancer who gets the staff is qualified as a professional dancer. The staff of Indra is mentioned in Bharata's Natya Shastra as the protector of all actors. Natya Shastra reads, Indra proclaims that this Jarjara will be the protection of all actors. Some of the dances of the Sangam period show a magico-religious element inset in them. For example, the Velan Veriyadal or Veriyadal. The Velan is possessed of a spirit and dances at will. This is accompanied by a percussion instrument called Parai. People throng to him to know what is in store for them in future. The frenzied Velan predicts, and people believe that the prediction came true. Innumerable texts have been written on varieties of Kuthu and Adal in Tamilnadu. Many early Tamil works are mentioned in the commentaries of the 12th century. Some of them are fragmentaries and others are completely lost. Except portions of Kuthanul and Panchamukha, we have lost most of the text. In the dance chapter of Panchamukha, Natya Marabu it is called, it provides information about 7 types of dances, rhythmic aspects of the Tandavas, Hastas, Charis, and Stambas. Paripadal, the anthology, mentions about Kuthu and Kunipu as the specialized dance form of women. The songs which were apt for dance, according to Paripadal, was called Kalippa. Certain modes of dance, like Valli Kuthu and Kalanile Kuthu, are mentioned in Tolkapiyam. Valli Kuthu is a ritualistic dance performed in honor of goddess Valli. Kalanile Kuthu is a dance performed in honor of the victory in the war. These were excellent in music and tala aspect. The themes of the songs, mostly during the Sangam period, it was love, nature, and God. The speciality in these songs were the composers, they had stamped their name in that, like Naganar, Nannaganar, Pettanaganar, and so on. Just like how we have in the present day also, we see in the Tyagaraja Kriti, we saw the mudra of Tyagaraja as Tyagaraja, Swadi Tirunals as Padmanabha, and Kshetraya's mudra as Muva Gopala. Similarly, even those days, they had put their mudra in the songs. The Sangam literature reveals that the stories of Lord Krishna and Kartikeya were very popular. Silappadigaram gives a detailed account of the 11 kinds of dances and Kuravai Kuthus of the Aichir. Madhavi, the eminent dancers of the Silappadigaram, performs 11 kinds of Adal during her Arangetram. The invocation dance performed by Madhavi was called Devapani. The item was, it was of 2 kinds. The first one was the Perundevapani and the second one was the Siridevapani. The first one was a prayer to Lord Vishnu, and the second one, and that song was in Pan Kausikam, set to the Talam, Irandu Tudai Tadaram. In those days, the raga, there was nothing called a raga. It was all Pan. In Tamil, it was all called Pan. The raga came later during the Nayak period when the Murchanas took place, and we see about those. That comes in the music. After that, the Pan, now, everything in Carnatic music, it has become raga. After the invocatory song, dance, the second item, Sirideva Pani, was performed. In this, she salutes to the gods of nature. So nature was very important, saluting to the nature or praying to the nature was a very common thing during the Sangam period. And a lot of songs we get about this. Now, we will see the 11 kinds of Adar Madhavi performed. The first one is the Tudi Adar. This dance portrays the scene when Asuras hid under the ocean, the middle of the ocean. Lord Kartikeya dances with the Tudi. Tudi is called oars. Tudi in Tamil is called oars. And he slays the Asuras with the oars. And this kind of dance was called Tudi Adar. Kadayam Adar. Indrani dances on the paddy fields at the Cho city of Bana. Alliyam Adar. Kanchagan appears in disguise of an elephant to kill Krishna. Krishna breaks the tusk of the elephant and wins over him and dances in victory. Pedi Adar. Kaman, the Cupid, dances in disguise of a woman in the city of Cho to retrieve his son from the prison. Mallada. Krishna wrestles with the Vanan. The wrestling is done to the rhythm of drums. No words in that. It's only for the rhythm of drums he dances. So next is Kudayada. Lord Kartikeya slaps the Asuras and dances with his warriors under his royal umbrella. Pandaranga. Shiva dances this variety. This has a high philosophical theme. In the chariot of the Vedas, in the chariot of the Devas, the 4 Vedas are personified as horses, and Brahma rides on it, and Shiva dances before him as a Tripurantaka. Kudamada. Lord Krishna dances with pots on his shoulder and head. Pavayada. Goddess Mahalakshmi slaps the Devan and dances. A variety derived from this dance is called the Kolli Pavai dance. Here, Kolli is the name of a hill. Kudukoti. Shiva dances to the request of his devotees after slaying the Asuras. His consort, Uma, plays the instrument called Kodukoti to the dance of Shiva. Marakalada. This dance is performed by tying wooden sticks as legs below the ankle. It is portrayed as Goddess Lakshmi kills the snakes and scorpions sent by the Asuras with these marakal, that is the wooden leg. See, all these were danced. We get a picture that all these 11 kinds of dances were performed by Madhavi on her Arangetram. And each dance has a small story to say. Community dances. There were Kuravai Kutu is a predominant dance during the Silapadigaram time, which is performed by 7 or 9 women of the cowherd community. They perform by joining hands and dance in a circle with circling movements. A line in Canto 7 of Aichir Kuravai says, to alleviate the grief of our cattle, we dance the Kuravai. They dance in a circle with many circling movements. As pictured in Tolkappiyam, a variety of Kuravai Kutu was a Vetri Kutu, which was danced in for the victory of war, celebrating the victory of war. Another variety referred in Silapadigaram is Vetuvari, that is hunter's dance. This dance now it survives among the Tamils of Vatikola of East Sri Lanka. This finds a strong parallel to the invocatory dance prevailing among the Vedas of Sri Lanka, who performs before setting out to a hunting expedition. Post-Sangam anthologies like Agananur refer to many such community dances. The Silapadigaram features the ritualistic group dance with mud pots, Kudam, which is sacred to Krishna. This is also done during rain and agriculture ceremonies. The episode of Lord Krishna performing the Kudam dance is peculiar to Tamil mythology. To set free Aniruddha, Krishna is said to have performed in the streets before the fortress of Bana, who had imprisoned Aniruddha. Dance of a later period has a variation by placing different pots on the head and shoulder and is performed with several brahmaris. Brahmaris are whirling movements. Another ritualistic song is the Karagatam, which the decorated pots are skillfully balanced in the head. And this cult is for Mariamman. Mariamman is the popular goddess propitiated to ward off epidemic diseases. She has a role to play as a rain god as well. Another simple traditional ritualistic dance is Kavadi Attam. This is the rhythmic dance with a ceremonial offering of the Kavadi to god Kartikeya. It is modeled after the dancing peacock, the sacred vehicle of the god. The steps will be very rhythmic and very beautiful. Kuthu in Tamil is referred to both solo and group dances, and also dance dramas. They are called Kuthus. Silapadikaram classifies Kuthu into Ahakuthu and Purakuthu. Under the Ahakuthu, there are two classifications. They are Vasai and Pugad. Under these two classifications come the Vediyal and Pudiviyal variety of dances. Now from the Sangam period, let's travel to the Bhakti period. During the Bhakti period, the two major cults in India, Saivism and Vaishnavism, simplified their philosophy to communicate easily to the masses through music and dance. Dance mingled with music, rhythm and movements became the quickest and sweetest vehicle to establish an instantaneous rapport between the onlooker and the god. Hence, dance occupies a very sacred place in the temple rituals. During the age of Pallavas, fine arts grew in fertile soil and climate, well irrigated by the Bhakti movement of Saivism and Vaishnavism. Dance entered as the part of temple services, and consequently, the art gathered momentum to seep through all social and economic strata of the society. Most of the music and dance rituals performed in temples have been clearly prescribed by the Shaiva and Vaikanava Agamas. The Agamas itself prescribes among the Shodasopacharas, the dance, music and dance. The icon of Lord Nataraja. See, this is a Chatura Tandava, which was prevailing during Pallava period. And they introduced the Ananda Tandava as well. But the form par excellence was perfected in the Chola period. During the next period, that is during the imperial Cholas. See, this is the Ananda Tandava. Till the rise of the Cholas, Madurai. Now we are going to see why Tanjore took the seat for encouraging such fine arts. Till the rise of the Cholas, Madurai was considered the seat of literature and art and was patronized by the ruling kings. It gradually shifted to Tanjore and became the center for literature and art. Why? The probable reason? Madurai lost its image of an enlightened patronage seems to be due to its attitude of rigidity in its assessment, probably that Sangam people, the people in Sangam. Maybe the academy had become very conventional and conservative. Meantime, a powerful dynasty like Cholas extended their patronage for a very long time. Culture and art, which are ever changing and growing, will naturally seek similar growing patterns in their enlightenment with liberal attitude and outlook. This could be one of the reasons for arts to flourish in Tanjore. As the result, Tanjore established a name for itself as a patronage center for newly emerging literatures and arts. The temple, art, folk music, dance, all developed during this period. Well, this was during the Chola period. What happens during the Nayak period, the next dynasty was there were three Nayaks in South India. One was Tanjore Nayak, another was Madurai Nayaks, and another one was Senji Nayaks. Senji Nayaks were on and often disturbed by the Muslim invasion. The Madurai Nayaks were more interested. There was music and dance in Madurai, of course. The first ever Padam, the dance form Padam was composed in Madurai only. But still, it didn't become very famous in music and dance because the kings were interested in architecture, building a lot of water bodies and a lot of buildings and things like that, monuments. Whereas Tanjore was geographically also in a place where not much of invasions were there. And at the same time, the kings themselves were adept in music and dance, and they were very much interested. And so they also patronized it. And naturally, the following Maratha period also, it became patrons. Now let's go back and see what happened after the Chola period. I mean, during the Chola period. Thevarams were part of the ritual worship in Shiva temples. They were also taken up for dance presentations. We used to wonder, okay, we call temple dancing. What did they dance in the temple? They danced Thevarams, Tiruvasagams, and these were very apt for dance presentation. And there are some Thevarams which have talas, jatis, apt for dance choreography. Thirutthala Jadi Padalgal, they are all called. And they are set in Vyala Kurinji Pan and Thala with Chatushra Nade, that is 4 counts, very apt for a dance choreography. Another variety of song apt for Abhinaya was Suddhanga Padalgal. This has no Thala, but the dancer can show Abhinaya. This used to be in different ragas and ragamalikas. And they are called the Tiruthandagam, Tirukkuruntogai, and Tiruviruttam. These are now still, it is dance performed in the present day Bharatanatyam recitals. Several traditions of rendering Divya Prabandhams arose ever since the text became part of the temple literature. These are in the Vaishnava temples. The Arayar dance tradition in the Vaishnavite temples performed verses from Divya Prabandham during the festivals. Arayar Sevai, it is called, is performed only by men in the temple precincts called the Pagalpattu and Rapattu Mandapams during the festivals. Now, another very important temple dance was the Navasandhi Dance. This is a conventional dance performed in temples during annual festivals. The dancers performed Navasandhi Kautuvams in front of the deities. There are 9 dances attributed to each deity. Each Kautuvam, that is, each dance is called a Kautuvam, is danced facing the direction of that particular deity, figuring in that song. For example, Brahmarikam, the dance Brahmarikam, is danced facing the northeast direction. The rhythm pattern adapted during the occasion is called Navasandhi Talangal. Sandhi meaning a junction, traditionally denotes the place where the divine energy is conjuncted. There are 9 sandhis beginning with the inert precinct of the temple, which is called Brahma Sandhi. The tradition of performing Navasandhi continued till the beginning of last century during the temple festivals. This dance was accompanied by Panchamukha Vadya. Dancers were attached to the temple to perform in the temple. During the daily puja, they had a timetable like this to perform. Dancers were attached to the temple and they were called the Talicheri Pengal and Manikatar and Devadasis. They were Adiyar, not Dasis, they were Adiyar. In Tamil, the dancers were allotted specific time to perform in the temple during the daily puja. They had special items to perform. During the morning time, Bhujanga Trasitam dance was performed with Pan, Gandharam, and Shashaputta instrument was played for that particular dance. Now, according to the inscriptions, the best performer was Thalaikoli, prima donna. Thalaikol is a staff made of bamboo decorated with beads and gold rings. The length being 7 jan. Jan is like this for 6 inches, kind of. Jan in Tamil. It is purified with sacred river water and done puja. After the rituals, they pay obeisance to the kol, that is the staff, and the Nattuvanar or the teacher hands over it to the dancer on her arangetra. Earlier we saw this in Silappadigaram, where Madhavi was presented by the Thalaikol. Excuse me. There were male dancers also attached to the temple who performed Tattalivu during the temple festivals. The instrumentalists who played for these Tattalivu, the orchestra was called Tattalivu Kottuvor. The expert dance master, recipient of the greatest honor, was called Thalaikol Asam. And the aged dancing girl was called Thalaikol Arivi. The dancers were given titles like Nakkan to be prefixed before the names. For example, Nakkan Tillai Alagiyar alias Panchavan Mahadeviyar held an honored position in the court of Rajaraja I. With the accession of Vijayalaya Chola in Tamilnadu, these are the Chola sculptures. The fine arts received great impetus. The temple festivals with dance and music concerts played an important role in interaction between the mass and the temple. Among the many dancers attached to Brihadishwara temple, we know many of them were attached to the temple, and there were 6 groups of Sagadai Kottigal who were adept in rendering Aryam. Additional dancers were appointed to do Abhinaya items. They were specialists in Abhinaya items. There were few male dancers also who performed Agamargam in the temple. 46 Pidarars were appointed to sing Tirupadiyam, and they were called Tirupadiyam Paduvur, and Udukai and Kottimaddalam was accompanying them. The Nattuvanars were appointed hereditarily by the temple to teach and conduct dance recitals. They were given lands in the name of Nattuvakani, and the teacher who taught Nritta was called Nritta Perarayan. And the Kuthu, the teacher who taught Kuthu, was called Kutarasan. The remuneration was fixed for all the artists by the temple committee. Now we will see the Agamargam in Panchamarabu. The text Panchamarabu describes Agamargam as a complete repertoire consisting of 16 varieties of dance items in one margam. So, Adi, Anu, Prakasam, Pitam, Pushpanjali, Puyangam. Puyangam is like Bujangam. Desi, Desiyottu, Nidhi, Nijal, Vaipu, Bagapu, Vakyam, Kavuttuvam, Tunukku, and Dandapadam. The different types of kuthus, such as Tamil kuthu, Arya kuthu, Shanti kuthu, had their individual patterns. Shanti kuthu was performed both in solo and group performances. Rishabha Taliyars were experts in the style of performing Shanti kuthu. There were 2 major styles of dance named Chokkam. Chokkam means pure Nritta, and Mei kuthu, that is Abhinaya kuthu. Mei kuthu had 3 modes. They were Desi, Vadugu, and Singalam. These 3 divisions are described as Samakuthu, Vanmai kuthu, and Menmai kuthu. In Bharata's Natya Shastra, the term Natya includes all the artistic elements of dance, music, and drama. We saw that previously. Similarly, there had been a homogeneous presentation of dance, music, and drama and the presentation of indigenous Tamil dramas as well. Some of the dance dramas which were presented had a lot of Sanskritic tradition in them. For example, the celebrated Pallava king Mahendra Varman produced a dance drama called Mattavilasa Prahasanam. The peculiarity of this drama was the introduction of characters delivering dialogues in more than one language, like Tamil, Sanskrit, and some more languages. The inscriptional references read that during the reign of Rajendra Chola, Rajarajeshwara Natakam was staged several times in the Tanjore temple. Similarly, during the reign of Kulothunga I, Pumbuliyur Natakam was staged. These dramas had a major portion of dance and music elements in them. The role of Tanjore Cholas, which is characterized by cultural contacts with several parts of India and outside the frontiers, marks unmistakable progress in evolution of music and dance dramas. Inscriptional references speak of Nana Vida Natanashala and some guilds like Nana Desi. We see some of the titles given by these Nana Desi guilds as Nana Desi Talaikoli. To perform solo dances, Nritta Mandapas and Nritta Shalas were constructed in most of the Shaivite and Vaishnavite temples. The accompanying music orchestra is very important to enhance a dance program. For dance recitals, the instruments with classical status were only taken up, and they were called the Kuyuluva Karuvigal. These orchestral groups were called Palliyam and Kuthiniyam because they were playing for Kuthus. Thannumai was a very important accompaniment to dance. Muravu, Maddalam were played for Nritta items. There were other instruments like Karkari, Udukkai, Yar, Idakkai, Salarai. Salari is an instrument of present day. It's just like our Ganjira. And Parai, Maddalam, and so on. The dance recitals were accompanied by well-balanced orchestra. And the orchestra called Mela Kutaravu is portrayed in the sculptures of Chola time. Before the curtain was raised in a dance program or a dance drama, the instruments like Thannumai, Muravu, and Amantarikai were performed in succession, and this was called the Antarakut. Even now, before any dance drama starts, there will be a percussion prelude before starting. Of course, the names have changed. In those days, it was called the Antarakut. This was the invocatory percussion prelude. Political and historical events plays a major role in indigenous arts and culture. The empire built by Vijayalaya Chola came to an end with the demise of Adi Rajendra Chola. From the rule of Kulothunga I, the fusion between Tamil and Telugu culture was rooted in Tamilnadu. As early as 1070, the political marriages, especially with Eastern Chalukyas of Vengi and similar ones, gave rise to cultural shifts. This had an impact on the culture of the land. The interaction between Tamil and Telugu had a glorious effect in the field of literature, music, dance drama, and all other fine arts. This reached its zenith when, under the Tanjore Nayaks and Maratha rulers, till the middle of the 19th century. Now we will see what happened. The next dynasty comes in, that is the Nayak period. In the 16th century, Nayaks of Tanjore came under the establishment of the Nayaks, King Raghunatha Nayak and Vijayaraghava Nayak. The Nayaks brought with them the glorious cultural tradition nourished under the banks of Tungabhadra to the fertile regions of Kaveri. The splendor of Vijayanagar court, culturally fragrant, had its reflection in the Tanjore court during the rule of Raghunatha and Vijayaraghava Nayak. Telugu was the court language, and through song and music, Telugu became popular in the Tamil country. The temples continued to provide the fora for the promotion of the arts. The temple festivals provided the necessary incentive for the arts as before. The Margi and Desi style of dancing became popular. Margi and Desi style now are the two distinct styles described in Natya Shastra. The Margi is the classical type of dance as described in Natya Shastra, and Desi is an independent style, yet its development is based on the methods of Margi. So these Desi style developed in many regions. The text Valmiki Charitram gives a vivid description of the exquisite dance of Ramba as a Desi Nritta. He calls the best dance as Desi Nritta. Many new Tala names are mentioned in this work, like Adi Talam, Dutiya, Antarakita, Jayamangala, Jampai. Adi and Jampai Talam were very new during the time of Nayak period. Now it has been used in most of the songs, and it is not new at all now. And Ramba is described to have performed a dance called Udara Natya. Namely, what are these best Natyas? Udara Natyas are, it is Perani, Dandalasya, Prenkani, and Kundali, with six Angaharas and full of bhavas. The text mentions about the different kinds of hand gestures, varieties of usages of Angika Binaya, and Drishti Vedas and Rasa Vedas, everything. Desi tradition of dance became the source for many dance forms that developed later. It contributed significantly to the shaping of present-day style of dancing. Sangeeta Muktavali explains the Desi dance named Kundali. This was associated with Parvati and was performed as a solo number. The other Desi varieties are, we can see here, these are the Desi varieties. Kolata Nartana. This is the sculpture of Kolata Nartana. Many treatises were written on music and dance in regional languages bearing Sanskrit names. Most of them were the continuation of the older texts with added information about the regional styles, that is the Desi styles. The treatises dealing with Desi styles agree in common with two distinct features, namely Kundali and Perani type of dances. The dance texts like Sangeeta Damodara, Nartana Nirnaya, Sangeeta Darpana, etc., they explain two broad divisions of a Desi style. They are Bandha Nritya and Anibandha Nritya. Bandha Nrityas are 11 in varieties and Anibandha Nrityas are 20 in varieties. The performer picked and chose items from Bandha and Anibandha varieties to present a balanced repertoire. For example, the items in solo items. This is from Bandha and Anibandha. They used to pick and choose these kind of dances. And this was performed in the Tanjore court. There were many dance varieties during the Nayak periods. And Tamil culture was integrated with the Andhra and Karnataka culture as well. With the fusion of Telugu, many Tamil composers and songs were composed on novel themes, dance dramas, songs for group productions, and everything. And now let's see some of the new dance items which came up during this time. One was the Prabandham. This was very popular form in music as well as in dance. They are poetical compositions or a kavya. The term prabandha denotes any work based on Purana or a piece of literature. A prabandham is a composition with 4 angas and 6 types of dhatus. Dhatus means elements. Different types of prabandhas were written in this style, either including or omitting any one of the angas. For example, Kaivara Prabandha, Uma Tilaka Prabandham. These were all written by Venkatamaki. This has very elegant sollukattus or jatis, which are very apt for dance. The Desa Elas are the prabandhas composed in different regional languages like Kannada, Grantha, Andhra, and Dravida. Dravida means Tamil language. The prabandhas are either sung or danced as a solo piece or in a dance drama format. Thodaya Mangala. This is an invocation song sung at the beginning of a dance drama. It is a prayer song on the deity around which the dance drama theme is composed. The name Thodu Mangalam in Tamil means a prayer song, which in Telugu it became as Thodaya Mangalam. Swara Pallavi, as the name implies, this musical form had more of swara passages to which nritta variety of dance was performed. This form can be traced from the Vadya and Nritta Prabandhas mentioned in the treatises Sangeeta Ratnakara of Sharangadeva. Padam is a dance form giving ample scope for abhinaya. Padams are erotic compositions, also known as Shringara Prabandhas. The earlier counterpart of these padas could be Ela Prabandhams, which are with attractive gamaka prayogas, phrases bringing in the essence of bhava and rasa. Padas of Kshetraya of this period is fragrant with Madhura Bhakti. The theme of Madhura Bhakti is not new to in Tamil soil at all. We can see in the Manika Vasagar's Tirukkovai, Tiruvasagam, and Andal's Tirupavai, and so on. Madhura Bhakti was always there in the Tamil soil. And Kshetraya's padams became very famous during Nayak, Maratha period, why it is being danced till today, even in Bharatanatyam recitals. There are ample references to padam in Telugu literature. Palkurchi Somanatha of the 13th century gives 20 varieties of padas. Some of them are in the name of Thummeda. Thummeda means bumblebee, Vennila, moonlight, and Chilaka means parrot. These padams are very similar to our Kilipattu, Vennila Pattu, and Kuyil Pattu. In the court of Nayak, several padas were sung and danced. They were Chaupadam, Madanapadam, Niti Padam, the Guru Padam, Navapadam, and Padachali. These varieties were all danced. Muthu Tandavar was the first Tamil Padam composer of the Nayak period. He was a contemporary of Vijayaraghavan Nayak. The next is a Jakkini. Jakkini was a very popular Desi style of dancing. This was very new, and it was mentioned in text Brihadeshi itself. Those days, Jakkini was different. Now, this Jakkini has been described as a dance of goddess Kali. The Brihadeshi says, Kali Kaya Kritam Purvam Matangaye Naiva Jakkini. Sword, trident, bow, etc. were used while dancing. Thala Deepika, a text from Andhra Pradesh, categorizes Jakkini as the Chitranatya. In Navarasa Jakkini, there are 9 kinds of weapons used. In Pancharatana Jakkini, 5 kinds of weapons are used. Jakkini was mentioned in Tamil treatises as well as the dancers who uses war instruments. We will see the same Jakkini later on during the Maratha period, how it gets changed to a different kind of a dance form. Now we'll see the Nayak period orchestral group. The orchestral group played on several instruments and performed in the royal presence. In this group, instruments like Swaramandala, Mukhaveena, Kinnaraveena, Upanga, Thalam, so many instruments were used. The instruments like Kinnaraveena, Pilangrovi. Pilangrovi is equivalent to flute. These were played, and many new names we come. Seshanatham is the coiled pipe. Kombu, Chandravalaya, Muraja. These were some of the popular instruments. Not only men, ladies also played instruments, and they had a instrument, this orchestral group of only ladies. And they played flute, kinnara, tambura, swaramandala, ravana hasta, huduka, dande, mittu, sengu, and so on. The Nayak period witnessed the construction of theatres and dance halls for the staging of plays and dance recitals. Besides the conventional halls which were built in the mantapas, they built separate theatres, venues for having these dance programs and dance dramas. The Nayak period, a theatre was called Achyuta Rankakutam. The temple halls were sculpted in stones, and royal theatres were decked with gems and precious stones. The text Shiva Tattva Ratnakara, written during this period, records a specification of dance theatre. This work prescribes a garden in front and a well-ventilated hall that has to be luxuriously decorated with elephant tusk, gold glittering pillars, and jewel lamps for illumination. The pillars should be made of sandalwood for fine fragrance. I think the kings were really Rasigarus who enjoyed music and dance. The stage was referred as Rangapitam and Rangasirsa as two parts. Before the actual dance started, the dancers stood on a high raised platform behind the stage, which had 4 pillars and a miniature vimana. The curtains, richly embroidered, was hung in front of the dancer, which was held by 2 beautiful girls on either sides. This was removed one by one as the progression of the dance. The 3rd curtain is of a transparent material and is removed just before the introduction of the main dancer. The practice of holding curtain in front of the dancer is prevalent even now in Kuchipudi dance recital, Yakshagana, Bhagavata Melas, Melanatakam, before introducing the main character. Now, we come to the next dynasty, Maratha period. Tanjore entered into another epoch-making stage in its cultural history when Ekoji was succeeded by Shahaji in 1684. Maratha court assumed the pleasing burden of the Nayak culture, and the king was still identified as an avatar, that is the incarnation of God. Though in this period, the king who was personified as Rama was turned to Shiva during Maratha period. The courtesans still continued to sing padams, celebrating the king as the hero, god, and lover. Telugu continued to be the court language. There were many classical and Hindustani music composers, dancers, and they all composed in all the languages for the dance, like Tamil, Telugu, Marathi, Sanskrit, and Hindi. The Maratha court was vibrant with South and North Indian music. 2 Maratha kings, Maharaja Shahaji and King Sarfoji. Many new items in dance were introduced and extensively performances were performed, organized. The artists followed a strict discipline of Gurukula system, by which the technique was passed on and was concentrated more on oral and practical aspect. This tradition was passed on to the generation of artists. The text Sangeeta Muktavali gives a list of dances performed in a margam. Pushpanjali, Mukachali, Suddha Yati Nritta, Raga. See this Yati, Shabda, Rupa, Sabdachali are all Gita Prabandhas, and all these are mostly Telugu based. Drupad is a main dance, which is very North Indian type of dance. Some of the new dance forms were important landmark cognizable during the reign of Shahaji is the musical opera known as Gaya Natakas. The birth of Gaya Natakas bring in new vistas to the musical form. The Gaya Natakas were not penned for the purpose of mere entertainment. They also educated the mass with social awareness, justice, moral ethics, and so on. This has been written in a classic literature set to melodious music and vibrating dance. The 4 Gaya Natakas written by Shahaji are Shankara Pallaki Seva Prabandham, Vishnu Pallaki Seva Prabandham, Pancharatana Prabandham, and Tyagaraja Vinoda Chitra Prabandham. They represent a new class where the dramatic, literary, and musical and dance elements are happily blended. Shahaji combined together the tradition of literary prabandhas with the Yakshagana tradition. He called it as Drishya Kavyas. The Pallaki Seva Prabandham is one of the earliest Gaya Natakas in Telugu. The Prabandhas of Shahaji is a compilation of various types of darus. For example, Vigneshwara Daru, Shringara Daru, Leela Daru, Abhinaya Daru, Salam Daru, and so on. He has also composed many Shringara Padams and dance dramas. King Sarfoji, love for art and his literary genius, flowered out as a new dance format called Nirupana. Many dance forms and important aspects of drama are coupled together beautifully in Nirupana. A story is enacted in one, there are about many songs, and it has been stringed to one dance drama kind of a format. Some of his famous Nirupanas are Parvatyopakyana in Yatukala Kamboji Raga and Aditala, Dandaniti Nirupana, and Mahadevachi Prarthana, and so on. He has also composed a Suladi in Raga and Talamalika. He has composed a mixture of dance forms in the item called Salamache Jinna Kalpita Kata, wherein he describes different kinds of salams the dancer will perform. One is Namaskar, another one is Salam, another one is JJ, Mujra, and so on. All these Nirupanas are in Marathi language and they are set to Carnatic music. The very famous performance during the Maratha period is the performance of Nautch dance performance. There were many dance varieties performed in this program, group and solo production. The court dance, especially to please the king, used to do this Nautch dance. This is a court dance completely. It is a combination of little bit of classical as well as folk dances. During the period of Sarfoji and his predecessors, the following items were danced in the court under the name of Nautch. Nautch in Hindi means dance. See, these are the dances. Sorry.
You need anything, any help?
No. I have to just go back. That's all.
If you can use the up arrow.
Yeah. That's what I'm using. Yeah. That's what. It's not moving, but no. Sangeeta Muktavali, Nach dance, yes. Yeah. Now, the new dance forms, musical dance forms, they are again, let's come back to the earlier I mentioned Prabandhas in Nayak period. Now the Prabandhas got a new dimension in the Maratha period. In the beginning of the 16th century, Prabandhas came to mean as a kavya of erotic type. Suddenly, it was so religious and for God, and now it became suddenly of erotic type. It must contain, they said, the rule for Prabandha was that it should contain varnana of a description of king, capitals, mountains, rivers, sunset, love, marriage, etc. The Prabandhas are classified as prakyata, where the theme is taken from an epic or Purana. Utpadya Prabandha, in which the story is the result of the author's own imagination, or from Puranic, and the mixed up of these interesting incidences. And there is a Mishra Prabandha, where the author mixed his imagination stories into the Puranic stories. And this was called the Mishra Prabandha. And this became very, very popular in the 17th century. But by the later part of the 18th century, the innovation of this Kriti and Kirtana formats replaced the old Prabandha musical compositions. In most of the dance dramas, the Kriti and Kirtanas came to be sung. Darus, it's a poetic musical form. In Tamil, it was mentioned as Taravu Padalgal. This was meant to be sung for the Tamil Kuthu. In Bharata mentions these Darus as Dhruv, and this is mentioned with appropriate ragas. Each Dhruv is mentioned with appropriate raga, talas, and solukatas. These are very apt for dance presentation. There are varieties of Darus like Kaivara Daru, Sammada Daru, Saranu Daru, Salam Daru. As we saw, the Salam Daru is the Urdu name, where it was very popular, and it was introduced in all the dance dramas as well. And in between the songs, the name Salamu Salamu Re, Salamu Salamu Re, this phrase will come, and the dancers will do salam to the king. The next one was the Kauta. According to the text, Bharatarnava, a Kauta or a Kautuka is a composition set to particular thala, which is played by the instrumental music and intermixed with words in a praise of a deity. This item was performed in dance and dance drama format, and also in Nirupanas. According to the temple ritualistic music, Kauta is called Kautuvam in Tamil, and it has been performed to the accompaniment of various instruments, and only words are recited, and it's not sung. Jakkini. Till the end of the 19th century, Jakkini was performed mostly in solo recitals and sometimes in dance dramas. This has 3 angas, Jati, Sahitya, and Swaras. This is Jakkini of Maratha period. The predominant feature in this is the syllables called Ellilam, Ellam, Le. After every line or after 2-3 lines, it will end with Ellilam, Ellam, Le. This format of Jakkini was in Maratha period, and there were no war weapons. They were all omitted. It was only pure dance. Swarajati, the dance musical form, came into practice from Maratha period only. Swarajati, as the name signifies, the composition has swara passages and with rhythmic syllables and jatis to that. Melatur Veerabhadraya is the architect of Swarajati compositions. Padavarnam, this form sets a milestone in the innovative discovery of new items in classical dance repertoire. As the name implies, it is sung in Chauka Kala, that is in a slow tempo. Padavarna gives ample scope for elaborate nritya and abhinaya aspect of the dance. Padavarnas were further decorated, adding it a Raga Malika or Tala Malika or Raga Tala Malikas as well. Govinda Swami Ayya of Karvet Nagar and Melatur Veerabhadraya were the earliest Padavarnam composers. Now we come to Tilana. This is an attractive and lively dance musical form which is also sung in the art musical concerts and Harikatha Kalachepam. It was danced also and it was sung in Harikatha Kalachepam also. Nritya is the speciality in this dance form. It must have derived from the Karna Prabandhas. The improvisation on this item must have resulted in Tarana or Tillana. There's a parallel story to this, which holds that Gopala Naik from Tanjore court, he was a court musician and he went to North India as a captive to Muslims. There he popularized the South Indian musical tradition of, he taught to Amir Khusro, a North Indian court musician. He taught Citraveena and Karna Prabandhas, which came to be known as Tarana. When two musicians are there, they interchange their ideas, and the Karna Prabandhas and the North Indian musical form both together became Tarana. The Tarana and Karna Prabandha together became Tillana. The earliest Tillana available is in Panturali Raga and Aditala, composed by again Melatur Veerabhadraya. So he introduced Tillana, since he is from Melatur, he introduced Tillana in Bhagavad-Gita Nataka as well. The inclusion of Tillana in a Sadir concert was during the reign of Pratapasinghe and gained popularity during the Tulaja period. Different varieties of Tillanas with Raga Malikas, Ragatala Malikas, and rare Thalas like Simhanandana are all performed. The Sahitya of Tillana is mostly in praise of God, deity, or sometimes on kings also. Maharaja Swati Tirunal has composed many Tillanas on Lord Padmanabha. His Tillana in Dhanasri Raga has a Hindi Sahitya and it is very popular in present-day Bharatanatyam concerts. This dance, Javali, is another musical form, dance music, very popular in later part of the 19th century. The attractive composition are generally composed on erotic themes with esoteric meaning and tilting and catchy music. The Rakti Ragas are used like Jenjuti, Kamas, Kapi, and so on. The rhythm is very lively, unlike the slow Padams. As regard the name Javali, in Kannada, the term says Javadi, meaning a kind of lewd poetry. In Marathi, Javali refers to the gesture of the eyes in the language of love. Tanjore quartet, Chinnaya, Ponnaya, Sivanandam and Vadivelu were the sons of Subbaraya Nattuvanar of Mannarkudi in Tanjore district. They were the architects of today's Bharatanatyam. Bharatanatyam Margam. They learned music from Muthuswami Dikshidhar. The brothers were court musicians and Nattuvanars in Mysore, Tanjore and Travancore. They set music for Sarabendra Bhupala Kuravanji, which was enacted in the big temple in Tanjore till the last century. They composed many dance items like Alaripu, Jatishwaram, Shabdam, Padavarnams, Swarajatis, Tillanas, etc. They set the present Bharatanatyam Margam. The dance orchestra of Maratha period. Many new instruments were included in the orchestral group for music and dance. These troops were known as the Sangeeta Melam. And the dance troupe was called the Chinna Melam. Mridangam, conch, veena, mukhaveena, flute, all these instruments were very commonly used in the orchestra. Raja Sarfoji introduced violin called fiddle in those days, a European instrument into Carnatic music and dance orchestra. Violin has now become the integral part of a Bharatanatyam orchestra. Among the wind instruments, clarinet was introduced. And also an instrument called Swarabat was played. This was played either as a solo instrument or as an accompaniment. Morsing was also a new instrument in the orchestral group. Now, next is dance dramas. The three popular dance dramas of the Nayak and Maratha period. Why I'm saying Nayak and Maratha period together for the dance dramas are, they were the same except for some of the items which were danced in them. Otherwise, the underlining theme and most of the songs of the Nayak period, they continued in the Maratha period as well. The three popular dance dramas of this period was Bhagavad-Gita, Kuravanji, and Yakshaganas. In all these formats, Bhakti was predominant and God was the hero of the play. Apart from these dance dramas, there were dance dramas in Tamil, Telugu, Sanskrit, and Marathi, performed in the royal courts by the Raja Nartakis. In these dance dramas, the king became the hero of the play. The king was personified as God and was praised profusely in the songs. The Sarana Daru and Vigneshwara Daru was mandatory in the beginning of any dance drama. More than 25 varieties of dances were introduced in a dance drama format. Maratha rulers were also adept in composing Yakshagana plays and Kuravanji Natakam. Kuravanji dance dramas became extremely popular during Maratha period. Kuravanji dance dramas seem to have been composed in 18th and 19th centuries. Over 100 Kuravanjis were composed, and many of them are still available in manuscript form. Bhagavad-Gita Nataka. This is the Narasimha of the Melatur. Narasimha. Bhagavata Mela Nataka, Narasimha Mask. Bhagavata Melas are culturally and artistically composed natakas. This style of presenting natakas were first introduced in Tamilnadu during the period of Nayak. It developed into its technique and flourished during the Maratha period. Till the present day, it maintains its antiquity, grandeur, and presentation and technique. Many Andhra Brahmin families from Kuchipudi who had been migrated to Melatur during the rule of Achyutappa Nayaka, 1561, had brought with them the Yakshagana tradition of Kuchipudi to Tamil Nadu. They evolved a new style and they called it as Bhagavata Mela Nataka. The objective of the drama was devotion to God, and the practice of presenting it in the temple came into vogue. The Bhagavata Mela Natakas are expounded with classical Carnatic music, dance, abhinaya, poetic speeches and dialogues with appropriate dramatic action. Only Bhagavatas, men performed this dance. The stories in these natakas are the episodes taken from Bhagavatam. Only male dancers performed. They were patronized by the royal court. Many centers like Melatur, Salyamangalam, Tepermanallur, Uthukadu, Muvanallur, Sulamangalam, and so on. They all had this Bhagavata tradition, Bhagavata Mela tradition. In the present scenario, many Bhagavata Mela artists have left their villages for their jobs and many live abroad. However, they all get together once a year in the village during Narasimha Jayanti and perform Prahalada Charitra Natakam and continue the tradition. Here in this picture, we see the Melatur tradition where Prahalada is sitting in his father's lap, Hiranyakashipu. These families of artists conduct the festival as a penance with utmost devotion to the art. They pass on the tradition to the next generation with paramount devotion and care. It is because of these Bhagavata families, the beautiful theatre art of Bhagavad Mela Nataka, after several generations, is still going steady with its original flavor and tradition. Now, in this month of May, the Narasimha Jayanti is celebrated in these villages by enacting the Bhagavata Mela Natakas. Next is the Kuravanji, among the most attractive form of dance that developed from the indigenous dance dramas during this period was the Kuravanji dance dramas. The earliest Telugu Kuravanji performed in the court of Raghunatha Nayak was Mannarudasa Kuravanji. Mannarudasa was his grandson, and Raghunatha Nayak wrote this Kuravanji on him. Apart from being an entertainment, the Kuravanji Natakas were used for bringing awareness to the people on various topics like medicine, geography of the place, music, musical instruments, costumes, deities worshipped in other places, the natural resources, etc. It is claimed that this form takes its origin from the time of Tolkapiyar. The main theme of all Kuravanjis are the same, the Kurati assuring speedy union among the lovers. In Tamil, this was also known as Kalambagam. There are varieties of Kuravanji songs like Kuravanji Sindhu, Kuravanji Santam, Kuravanji Natakam, and Kuravanji Prabandham. The language of Kuravanji is simple and easily communicated. The songs and dialogues are composed in colloquial Tamil and Telugu languages. We will see this is a sculpture of Kuravanji carrying the basket, and next is the Kuravanji fortune telling. Next is the Yakshagana. These are dance dramas enacted frequently in the court of the Nayaks. During Nayak period, any drama with devotion and story, music and dance were called Yakshagana. Yakshagana is a very popular traditional art form in Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh. The origin of this form is said to have emerged in the 11th century. The scholars opine that the music of Yakshagana is a kind of a variety of music sung by the Yakshas, a semi-divine being like Gandharvas. Yakshagana music of Karnataka is a mixture of classical and folk music, whereas the Yakshaganas of Tamilnadu, the original music was replaced by Kirtanas and Darus. It's a Carnatic music in Tamil Nadu. Like all the other dance drama formats, Yakshagana plays of Tanjore begin with the item Saranu Daru, then Vigneshwara Daru, Salam Daru, performed by the Sutradhari, followed by dialogues and introduction of the other characters of the play. This drama is performed all through the night. In the Maratha period, the composers introduced classical dance items like Jakkani Daru, Salam Daru, and varieties of Darus to the Natakas. These features were not found in the present-day Yakshagana plays, performed in Karnataka. The famous and popular Yakshaganas of Tanjore had now become obsolete. Now we will see, this is the heroine introduction in the Yakshagana. This is our Tamil Terkuthu. Terkuthu is the indigenous dance drama format of Tamil Nadu. The drama format has a lot of familiar features mentioned in Natya Shastra. Presently, it is an important art of folk variety. Through music, dance, and dialogues, it presents mythological and social themes in the dance drama format. The artists wear heavy makeup and headgears like the Yakshagana artists. Now, another variety, I wouldn't call it as a dance drama, but also it can fit into a dance drama, is the Nirupana. King Sarfoji was a versatile artist, talented in music, dance, literary writing, and he composed many Nirupanas. A solo dancer will enact all characters appearing in the story and project through her Abhinaya skills. This is also like a nataka. A story is told in all the songs. Nirupana consists of 18 songs within which a story is woven from mythology. A solo dancer will enact all characters appearing in the story and project through her abhinaya skills. The dancers in Nirupana are as follows. There are so many dance, 18 items. This was very novel dance form of the 18th century. The theme in the Nirupana is based on the mythological and historic stories with author's imagination. King Sarfoji calls it as Kalpita Katha. All Nirupana start with the prayer song, Jaya Jaya, and end with Mangala. The language used in all the songs are in Marathi, but set to Carnatic music. Nirupana, performed by a single person, was called Bedyaka. About 15 Nirupanas have been composed by King Sarfoji. Some of the items from Nirupanas are danced in present-day solo Bharatanatyam recitals. For example, you can see Alaru. It is performed as Alaripu, as an invocation song. The other dance items like Tillana, Shabdam, Varnam, Swarajati are all now performed in Bharatanatyam Margam as well. The basic exercise of footsteps with body movements are called adavas. Adavas are the basic foundation of dance, which is the major factor influencing the style of the dance. The text Sangeeta Saramrita, written by Tulaja, classifies the adavas into 18 groups. He mentions 4 karanas of acrobatic nature. See, the karanas during the Maratha period was like acrobatics. They did not mention the karanas what Bharata explained. It is very colloquial. Karanam podrathu, they used to say, which means somersault. He mentioned the Tanjore brothers simplified and reused the varieties of already existing adavas for the Bharatanatyam format. They systematized the adava system. Many varieties mentioned in Sangeeta Saramrita have become already obsolete. Some of the new adavas which are in practice now are not in the text. This shows how dance has changed over the centuries in the shape and form. The Kuthu and Adal, to be called as Sadir during Nayak and Maratha period by the people, the Sadir dancers. Maratha period by the people. The word Sadir is not mentioned in any literature of the 16th, 17th or 18th centuries. Sadir seems to have been entertainment in the courts and has very little to do with the ritualistic dances of the Devadasis. The Nartaki performs Sadir in a Sadas. Sadas means assembly of people or assembly of rich people. That belongs to the category of special enactment, and the dance of Devadasis performed in the temple was part of one of the Shodasa Upacharas to the gods. The Sadir and court dancers, along with their orchestral group, were called Sangeeta Melatar. They have also, to their credit, staged many dance dramas composed by court poets and kings. A Sadir dancer is a Raja Nartaki, but the technique are similar to both Devadasis and Nartakis. A Sadir was a self-projected art with glamour of displaying both beauty and skill. As we saw during the Sangam period, the invocation song in an Arangetram was on Lord Vishnu. Later, during the Nayak period, it was the dance in praise of Shiva and Vishnu in Thodaya Mangalams. That was the invocation song. In Thodaya Mangalams and Kautvams as well. During the Maratha period, the invocation song was on Lord Ganesha, their Ishtadevata, and the item was called Vigneshwara Daru. It was mandatory to do Vigneshwara Daru in all programs, whether it is solo or group performances or a dance drama. As the centuries rolled, the ancient Tamil art of Kuthu underwent many changes. Some became obsolete. The Tamil Terukuthu is now revived and performed. The Sakai Kuthu is performed only in Kerala. The Yakshagana tradition went back to its birthplace, Karnataka. A few villages like Melattur, Salyamangalam and Tepermanallur still continue the tradition of Bhagavad Mela Natakas with new fervor. Our dance dramas have won accolades in many countries around the world. The new growing technology has helped to enhance the quality of the dance dramas in its makeup, lighting, stage decor, and acoustics. The technology gives a new dimension to the traditional art. The spiritual aspect is the fundamental base of the Indian dance. This gives a divine visual with aesthetics to the onlooker and kindles the innermost joy of the soul. In Tamilnadu, all the fine arts are treated with divinity. With this principle, we have shown a different dimension of our art to the world. Our Indian arts have a long history and the tradition has been nourished over many centuries. This divine tradition is continuing till date with the untiring efforts and contributions of present-day dancers and teachers. Starting as a ritual dance in Tamil Nadu, it progressively reflected the evolution of philosophical and religious thoughts. The epitome Bharatanatyam gained currency. It started as varieties of kuthus, continued in the courts as sadir, and at present celebrated as Bharatanatyam. Thank you.
Thank you, madam, for a very detailed, quite packed with information. It's in fact so dense. I don't know if without a prior understanding of some of the things that you talked about, it's easy to follow. I mean, I'm a lay person as far as this topic is concerned, but I could pick a few things here and there. There are some questions from the audience. There are some questions from me. Let me just mix them all up and take maybe 10-15 minutes. We'll talk about this. What I understand from your presentation, not having read any of your texts, not understanding any of the intricacies, what I can see is that there has been a continuous evolution of this form. Both in its individual performance or even the packaged model of how you deliver it on the stage, the composition.
Two aspects.
Both aspects, right? However, they have been continuously documented. So that is why you are even able to write from, you start with Tolkapiyam, that is from the Tamil text side of things. You mentioned Panchamarabu and a couple of other, I think, Kuttanul from a Tamil side of things, and from Sanskrit, you mentioned quite a few texts which are there today, right? So I can see that there is evolution. Then there is actually the performance tradition itself. There is a textual tradition. There's a performance tradition. Now, do we have documentation of that in the sense that this is, the text itself documents it in a sense. So Silappatikaram talks about what Madhavi did. But do we have it continuously saying this is how dance performances were in the 6th century, 7th century, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and so on?
Actually speaking, in between, we don't have any documentation.
Okay.
The Pallava, Chola period and all, we don't even know what the technique of what they performed. The kuthus, how it underwent changes in the kuthus or adals. We only know by the name. And that too fragmentary here and there. We had to collect a lot of things. And we took the help of sculpture, paintings, literature, music, and so many other allied arts with the dance. As such, we don't have any documentation of that. And apart from that, here and there, of course, mention of it in the inscriptions also we get some of them. But from the 13th century onwards, there are a lot of documentation and literatures written on dance, like Sangeeta Ratnakara, Nritya Ratnavali, Manasa Ullasa, and so many things. And Shiva Tattva Ratnakara. Not only in Tamil Nadu, around Tamil Nadu, the Dravida Nadi itself completely, if you take, there were many texts written. And the style of the text was like, they did not write, some have written specifically for music and dance or only for dance. Some have written on varied subjects. Like, for example, in Manasa Ullasa, the king, it is written by the king Ballala. And he writes about so many topics in his big, his magnum opus, where dance comes only in one chapter. In that, but it is so important that he mentions about 16 or 17 varieties of Desi Karanas in that.
Okay.
So likewise, now, dancers, they take up these kind of texts and now they are doing research on that and they are documenting it.
Okay.
Because it has become so important. We have lost those. See, that is why we see, okay, in Karnataka, they do a different style of classical dance, though they call it Bharatanatyam. And in, Tamil Nadu, inside Tamil Nadu itself, there are so many varieties. I mean, styles, what I would say.
Right.
This is all because some have retained those Desi varieties or the style of dancing. And some styles, it has become, we have lost them. So the thing is, only after that we get certain grammar or those kind of from those kind of books, and not the oral tradition is completely on Guru Sishya Parampara. Not many of them taught. I mean, they did not follow exactly the book. That is why it is called a Desi variety. Desi variety, you need not follow a book.
Right. The bigger challenge I can understand both in the dance and in the music is, how can you write something that can only be performed? Right? How do you describe music? How do you describe dance? Even today, with the videography and an audiography equipment, you can just record the whole thing and then play it to somebody. But how can you, using whatever your word power is, write them that it can be passed on? I understand the Guru Sishya Parampara. But supposing the Guru Sishya Parampara is cut, how do you transfer?
It was cut at one point of time. It diluted so much. It was almost cut, isn't it? But these granthas, how they give, if you see those Sanskrit works of the Dravida region, they say the king will talk to the son, saying that, like, for example, in Shiva Tattva Ratnakara, the king, it says that in the dance adhyaya, in that it calls it as Kallola. Okay. So in that he says, oh son, this is what has been happening in dance. And this is what I would like to say. There are so many Drishti Vedas. There are so many single hand gestures. There are so many double hand gestures. These are the rasas. These are the, rasa Vedas, whatever, anything explaining grammatically on the about the dance. He tries to explain with so many words and, the specifications, because it is not visualized in those days. He could not even put a picture of it. But now reading them, we are kind of, one has to sit and visualize how it would have been, whether it matches with our present day, any action in the dance.
Right.
Lot of dancers are doing, even I am doing a book in Sanskrit like that. So it is a challenging task to bring out.
So that's where, you pointed out about these, the postures depicted in sculptures.
Yes.
Which we have been getting from, certainly from the Chola period. We can see in the pillars as sort of fillers. Then you have, of course, the postures that the gods depict, Shiva in particular. In perhaps a later time, Krishna, as the Kudakuthu, etc., we can actually see at least a snapshot of that, right?
Yes.
Now, then later on, right into the Vijayanagara period, Nayak period, where there is profusion. The temples are now larger, and right across various frames, lintels, you have these, at the base.
The Mukha Mandabas are extended.
Yes, yes. Now, when you look at, again, my understanding has always been from looking at it as a sculpture. But when you go, for example, with your background in dance, when you see each of those postures, are you able to clearly point out, hey, this is this particular posture, this is this particular adavu, this is what they are dancing? Can you actually reconstruct that sequence that
to reconstruct something like this? It is not what I would say is, in the Chola period, what they did about Natya Shastras, Karanas are so clear and so perfect. Whereas during Nayak period, they have extended so many small temples into big temples with all the mandabas and the front mandapas. But there aren't specific Desi styles which are sculpted in the temple pillars. Here and there is no panels of it. And all panels, what I would see, probably, they did it in one big factory kind of a thing. And everywhere there is only Kolat and Nrtha.
Right. Okay.
On the ceilings of the Mukha Mandapa. Only Kolat and Nrtha. And either small girls or big ladies dancing or men dancing. And things like that. And very, very similar kind of dance sculptures. Here and there, we come across certain thematic dances, very rarely.
Okay.
But otherwise, during Nayak period, it was in a large quantity. Probably they were producing these sculptures in one place and they were sending it to different.
Okay.
It wasn't like in Chola period. They didn't take that much interest.
Yeah. But even in Chola, like for example, in Tarasuram, right?
Yes.
In the front mandapa, you see a lot of these dance postures, even including those, 3-in-1, one head and 3 bodies and that kind of a thing.
That is what, I tell you, that is the technique they are showing it. That is the intelligence of that sculptor. He's showing the technique. If you see the Gangodhara, the Karana, the last one, you know how the face will be down, the leg will be kept like this, on the top. That was because, it should be done like that, in that position, like 2-3 angles. They will show.
Right.
Similarly, when a leg is taken up, in between, they show 2-3 angles, which means that, it just, this is the way you have to do. That is why Dr. Padma Subramaniam has got the complete text and these sculptures together, and she has produced wonderful work on Karanas. And they are such a pleasing and, delight to watch the way they perform the Karanas.
That leads to a question from Lakshmi Subramanian Durga.
Okay.
In one of the slides, you had mentioned Bhujanga Trasitam, Lalitam, Swastikam. I have done a paper presentation discussing the limitations of Ms. Padma Subramanian's interpretations of the Karanas. Oh. Did you come across any limitations in her interpretations in her works while doing your study, ma'am? That's her question.
Basically, I have not practically done those kind of Karanas. I only studied about them, but I enjoy seeing them because it needs a lot of practice. During my period, I did not go take training under that kind of a Natuna or teachers to be taught those Karanas. Okay. Now, these Karanas, I don't think there's a limitation to do, because if you have been trained from a young age and have that kind of a training or a supple body to do, probably you can do all the Karanas. Yes, to a certain extent. See, that is what, maybe she says the Gangotra Karana or, those kind of things will be very difficult, very acrobatic in nature and all. But why do that? Maybe one pose you can show like that while doing it, how you do it.
I don't know if that is the meaning that she indicates. I don't know what she actually indicates.
I know what she says.
But part of it is maybe that, those interpretations are not right, or it has to be interpreted differently?
There is no limitations as such. They can practice and do all those karanas.
Okay. Okay.
So what limitations is she? What does she want to know?
I don't know. I mean, this is the question that she had posed in.
Can you tell once again the question?
Yeah. The exact wordings are as follows. I have done a paper presentation discussing the limitations of Miss Padma Subramanian's interpretations of the Karanas.
Okay.
Did you come across any limitations in her interpretations, in her works, while doing your study? So that's all that is there.
No. It is not. It doesn't come into my study at all. I never did Karanas as my research work.
Okay. Fine. So let me go back to this. From again, my understanding may be very limited. So I sort of take it that there is a format called Marga today.
Yes.
Right?
Margi.
This is what, as in, start from a certain thing and end with a certain thing, which itself has evolved. But this is what is performed in the stages today. If it is either solo or as a group performance. Am I correct in assuming that? No. Okay.
Margi is the style which is being prescribed in Natya Shastra by Bharata. That was the dance, he says, which was prevailing during his time. So he has written the grammar of it, how it should be performed.
Okay.
Now, Desi is all the regional styles.
Okay. So, for example, you talked about
Bharatanatyam is Desi only. It's Margi and Desi all put together, all one masala.
I understand, but you showed clear examples of a Karagattam, of a Kavadi and so on. Now, those are ritualistic, right?
Yes.
You are not. It's not a stage performance.
No.
You do it at a temple, either as a Vendudalkaha irkalam, or you have to perform this before some
during
event
that
happens,
festival time,
something like that, right? But today we have basically made it into a stage performance, right? Where there is a certain combination as a stage performance. Now that itself, so it is basically ritualistic. Then it was a court performance. Now a stage performance. In this variation again, how do you? I mean, I'm sort of trying to glean some bits and pieces to the extent that I can understand from your presentation. Maybe my interpretation.
Kavadi and Karagattam and all has gone to the folk dance varieties. Okay, because ritualistic folk dance variety. If we are going to study in depth all those things, we will study about it. But this Bharatanatyam, what we have now, is a stage art.
Right.
It was improvised and perfected later on by Rukmani Devi Arundale and so many other dancers along Mrinalini Sarabhai, all of them, they learned from the Nattuvanars and they perfected it to give to the present audience, to their future, when they were there, to the future audience, maybe. Because they did not want to mix any vulgarity into that. See, Bharatanatyam Margam itself is, as I said, the dances little bit from the court dance as well as temple dance. Temple dance was different, although the grammar was the same. The dance grammar was the same. How you project it is different, isn't it?
Right.
The same item, how you project before the king and how you project before the god, it's two different type. So how you're going to present the item. So that they modified it and gave it to the stage now.
Okay.
So made it very respectable. They did not want to be like how it was danced in the court.
Okay. But at the same time, you did talk about things like Padam, which is presented even today, right? In terms of its
but Kshetraya Padams are with Madhura Bhakti. Although it was composed, he has also composed on king. Kshetraya is composed on king. Those Padams nowadays dancers don't do. Only for some lecture demonstration, maybe they can show. But otherwise, in a dance, the repertoire or a program, They don't do that. They do only on Lord Muva Gopala, the Krishna. How he has composed 4,000 padams and more on Lord Krishna.
So you basically
And those are all with Madhura Bhakti. So, I mean, there is ample padams, and Muthu Tandavar has also done that Madhura Bhakti dance, padams only.
Right. Okay.
So,
Yeah, sorry. Please go ahead.
So that Madhura Bhakti is different from what you show the other type of Shringara. That is why nowadays not many dance Javali, especially the present day children who learn Bharatanatyam. To do a Javali, you need to have that kind of an experience and understanding of the dance. Very senior dancers, they can show as a piece of maybe for the traditional sake. It's a traditional piece. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense in the present day scenario.
There are a couple of questions from Ranbir Banerjee.
Okay.
One is, what is Panchamukha Vadyam?
Okay.
That's question one. So you can answer this, then I will ask the second question.
Panchamukha Vadyam has got 5 types of drums put together in one. There will be a big drum. I must show the picture. Maybe you can find it in the Google. And there'll be, and that Panchamukha Vadyam, you will find it in some of the temples in the Tanjore belt. And they were specialists in playing that. And that Vadyam was played while doing the Navasandhi Kautvams.
And the second question, I hope I'm interpreting it correctly, is asking, what are the different characteristics of Bharatanatyam style / Vani? Vani, I don't know exactly what he means. Different characteristics of Bharatanatyam style. Does he mean that there are different versions that are being, different schools?
Bani, not Vani. Bani.
Okay.
Pani solval, Bani solval. Yeah. Different Banis are nothing but the styles what those days the Nattuvanars or the teachers they evolved. The style of teaching. Each, even in painting, you will see each teacher will have their own style of, painting or teaching painting. Or a person writing a book, each author will have his own style. So some of the Nattuvanars of the Easter years, they were, 4 or 5 Nattuvanars, they hailed from the same, nearby villages in Tanjavur.
Okay.
And their first song, the invocation song, will be on the deity of that village, and that they had taught to their students, and that became the Bani. And some of them gave importance to the facial expressions more than Nritta. Some of them gave lots of importance to the Nritta aspect or the Laya and less of Abhinaya aspect. And so on, and the type of doing the adavus, the steps also, slight changes were there. So that is how they evolved the Bani. They talk about the Bani.
Okay.
Bani means style.
Okay, I understand. So there's a question from Sunita Madhavan. Were Abhangs popularized through dance?
Abhangs were popularized only during Maratha period in Bhajana Sampradaya and Katha Kalakshepams and all. But in dance, only now they are doing it in dance.
Okay. There's a question from Nageshwara Rao. Is there a difference between Nritta and Natya?
Yes, Nritta means pure dance. Natya means drama. Natya itself says drama. But drama includes dance, music and drama.
So Nritta is that doesn't even have to be a story, song or anything.
Nothing at all. Just for swaras or a percussion instrument, you do the dance.
Okay.
No meaning conveyed to it.
So almost similar to the earlier Arachalur musical inscription that you talked about, which was just some Swarajati. And
no, just jatis.
Jatis.
Now, those kind of jatis are used in Kautvams, Natesha Kautvam and
okay.
All those.
Okay. Just a couple of questions about this this Bhagavata Mela in particular, and other models that you talked about, namely Kuravanji and Yakshagana. What I found was that this Melatur Bhagavata Mela, it goes on and on for the entire night, in fact, for hours.
Yes.
With so many characters. I think there is also a lot of freedom taken. They are just singing and dancing themselves. So it just gets stretched, right?
No, it was meant to be danced like that. It is a scripted dance drama. They don't do it as and when whatever they want to. Even the dialogues are written.
Okay. But it is so long.
Yeah, it is meant for that. Because they say at the dawn, the Narasimha Avatara takes place. And so well they picturize, each Melatur picturizes in a different way. Salyamangalam picturizes in a different way. And all those things I've written in my dance drama book, where each one of them, and Tepermanallur also, how, the story, there are slight variations in the story and how they present it. It is meant to be done all through the night. And in the morning, they take a procession. The person who's wearing the Narasimha mask, he takes a procession. And then they go to the temple. And then the mask is removed with a lot of, prayers and all those things and songs sung. And then kept in the temple.
So it is not just a performance that you do in a stage. It is ritualistic, it is worship related.
Yes.
So
the whole story is enacted in dance, drama, and this, all the dialogue format. And everybody will sit and keep on be watching until it comes to the crescendo.
Okay. Wonderful. I think we have a lot of comments, by the way. I mean, a lot of appreciation. There's a lot of. There is one question. Sorry, I missed this from Ramki. Says Chimna Bai Maharani of Baroda, who was originally from Tanjavur, was known as a good Bharatanatyam dancer.
Yes.
Do you have any other Maharanis known for Bharatanatyam from Tamilnadu?
I was fortunate to learn from Tanjorkar sir in Baroda, who his family went to Baroda along with this queen, and his father or grandfather, and he became a professor in the dance department. Tanjorkar sir used to say how they used to teach to the royal family people, but yes, but they will not exhibit, they will not tell it out. I am sure most of the, even during Chola period, the queens and princes, they learned dance. From special teachers, they used to call to the palace and learn. And we even come across Rajaraja Chora's daughter. She performed a dance program.
Okay.
And so on. And similarly, they may not give a public performance to the general public. Maybe inside the court, inside their palace, they would dance. But they all learned painting, music, dance. Yes.
There have been a lot of discussions parallelly in the YouTube channel, where many people were discussing, and particularly Dr. Nagaswami's daughter Uma Nagaswami has been also posting a lot of details, comments, etc. It's all there. There are no specific questions other than whatever that we discussed. Maybe we can come to a sort of closure. Do you want to add any specific comments over and above whatever it is that you have mentioned?
See, this is such a vast subject. And I would say even each and every item has a history to it.
Right.
Like if you say a Prabandha or a Tilana or a Alaripu or a Pushpanjali, there is a history behind it, from how it started, why it started, and why it has become like this, and today what it is like that. Each and every dance item has. So likewise, it is such a vast ocean it is. And what today I said is just a drop. what I knew. That's all. There is a lot to study, and for me itself to, research a lot this.
Yeah,
Because
I think this is the sort of suggestion to hundreds of young children who are learning this art as a performing art, to go beyond that, to get into the text, to look at the recent works, the research works, books, the earlier texts. Hopefully, learning both Tamil and Sanskrit, read through, understand, come up with solid research work. I think there is so much more to bring out and then present. Yes, I know.
I'm sure. I'm looking forward to, like, in future, now that a lot of universities are coming forward to making a department and everything. All these years we didn't have one. I had to travel all the way to Baroda to do my masters and all. It was so difficult. But now I see a very good future in like any other subject. Dance also will really flower out in a different dimension. Already it is. In the presentation itself, we can see a lot of differences. So, but only concern is that it should, retain the tradition and the flavor of it. It shouldn't deviate to some other, path. If it continues to stick with the tradition and then do the improvisation on that, then it would be a wonderful thing to do.
Thank you, madam. That was really rich and rewarding. Very detailed, sort of information-packed lecture. I'm sure I can see that there are a lot of senior dancers. Some of them that I know, I can see in the channel following that. I'm really happy that this has touched a lot of people. I think in the coming days, more and more performing dancers will go through this talk. Thank you once again from Tamil Heritage Trust for a
thank you so much.
Wonderful talk.
I want to thank you, Mr. Badri and Mr. Sham also, and the entire Tamil Heritage group. And I hope all of you enjoyed. And as much as I enjoyed interacting with you all, it was very nice.
Certainly, we enjoyed it. Thank you.
I would like to thank my student, Mrs. Lavanya Shivram, who prepared this slideshow for me. And I must thank, I really enjoyed this evening with you all. Looking forward to more topics. And congratulations on the work for the Tamil Heritage Group. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And for the listeners, we have next month a whole host of lectures instead of a
in June.
That is going to be
yes, very interesting. When he was telling itself, I was saying, my God, how interesting. Very good speakers too.
Like about 14 lectures covering the whole of India. So we really look forward to
yes, wonderful.
Hundreds of viewers.
Very commendable work. That's what I was telling. I mean, it's so important now for this generation to know what it is, Not many know about this.
Thank you. Thank you all.
I'm so happy. Thank